Katniss Everdeen sits motionless in the frozen woods. She is using the quiet isolation of the dawn as a temporary escape, attempting to delay the start of the Victory Tour. The tour is a calculated tool of the capital. Midway between the annual Hunger Games, victors are forced to travel across the country and parade themselves before cheering crowds who secretly loathe them, feeling intense dislike for the very people who killed their children. Despite her new wealth, Katniss remains in a state of survival. She spends her mornings checking a snare line, relying on traps rigged to bent saplings, young trees with slender trunks, to pull her kills out of the reach of predators. Before facing the cameras, she retreats to her old home in the impoverished seam. She sits alone in the kitchen, staring at the empty hearth, the floor of the fireplace, mourning the life she left behind. In retrospect, looking back at her old life of near starvation, she realizes she knew exactly where she fit into the fabric of her community. That struggle for basic calories feels secure compared to the hyper-monitored existence she faces now. This map of District 12 shows the physical boundary Katniss crosses. She slips through the perimeter fence, leaving the woods for the district's tight streets. She walks this path to fulfill an obligation, providing meat for Gale's family while he works in the coal mines. The physical toll of the district's poverty is severe. Gale's mother washes laundry until her hands crack and bleed. Her only relief is a salve, a healing ointment, that Katniss's mother concocted or fabricated from local ingredients. The capital even dictates her relationships. Because Gale is close to Katniss, the state's media machine lies, branding him as her cousin to protect the manufactured on-screen romance she shares with Peeta. Between the physical barrier of the fence and the fabricated history of her family, Katniss finds that no part of her life, geographical or personal, is off-limits to the capital's design. Katniss then moves deeper into the district to the Hob, a former coal warehouse that now functions as a black market. This is where she trades her hunted game and stockpiles essential supplies for future use. She visits the Hob out of a sense of duty. During the games, the price of survival gifts was exorbitant, unreasonably high. The poorest patrons of this black market pooled their meager resources to sponsor her when she needed it most. She buys bottles of strong liquor from a woman named Ripper. Even the head peacekeeper, Cray, purchases illegal alcohol here, demonstrating that the local law enforcement must bend the capital's rigid rules to survive their own reality. Katniss's survival in the arena was not a solitary win. It is a transactional burden of debt owed to the outcasts and criminals of District 12. Katniss crosses the boundary into the Victor's Village, a community built around a pristine green. But inside her mentor Haymitch's house, that wealth hides deep decay. She wades through discarded wrappings and broken glass that have been thrown out on the floor. A stench, a foul, bad smell of vomit and unwashed clothes, brings tears to her eyes as she tries to wake him. Haymitch wakes with a violent start. A guttural, harsh sound erupts from his chest. He jumps up wielding a knife, spewing a string of profanity as he slashes at the air. Katniss immediately retreats to perch on the windowsill. She realizes she should have pried the weapon, pulled it loose by force from his sleeping hands before waking him. Peeta arrives with fresh bread, unfazed by the chaos. He makes a joke about Haymitch catching pneumonia, a severe lung infection, and douses the knife, plunging it into white liquor to sanitize the blade. When Peeta speaks to Katniss, their exchange is stiff and formal. The dread of the fake romance they are about to perform for the cameras hangs over the room. Winning the games provides no actual peace. It isolates the victors inside their own trauma and traps them in a performance they can never switch off. Returning to our map, Katniss walks back to her new home in the village. Inside, she finds her mother pale and anxious. She sees a capital man, assuming he's there to brief her on the formal protocol, the correct code of conduct for the tour. The man ushers Katniss into her own study. The atmosphere undergoes a claustrophobic shift as she registers the conflicting scents of roses and blood. Waiting inside the study is a small, white-haired man reading a book. He holds up a finger, signaling for silence, as if he were the one who belonged in the room. Katniss locks eyes with the snake-like stare of President Snow. The realization hits: The victor's village was never a refuge. It was just a more comfortable cage. The presence of the president in her own home signals that the distance she tried to maintain has completely collapsed. This sudden trespass requires a spark of rebellion to counter a state that refuses to respect any boundary. When the state can occupy your own study and dictate your family's history, geographic refuge ceases to exist. The physical escalation of this trespass leaves Katniss with a final realization. You cannot escape a system that has already moved in.